We're back with another episode. Thank you so much, Michael White, for joining me. I'm joined by Michael White, Market Manager, Head of Life Sciences at HSBC Innovation Bank Europe. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing, Tina?
Very, very well, thanks. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and I'm really excited to delve into everything to do with technology and life sciences. I'll just jump in because I'm really excited to hear about this, because technology's seen such a wide variety of applications within the healthcare space. Biotech, hospital administration. What gets you specifically most excited about life sciences and also technology within the space?
I'm very excited about the space right now. By way of context, I recently relocated from the U.S., working with in the Silicon Valley banking capacity, working with healthcare life science clients. And so it's been a fascinating time to be alive, fascinating time to be working in the UK and seeing all the different innovations here, and the pattern recognition from the US, and also some differences. But generally speaking, I think it is a phenomenal time for anyone to be alive. The innovations that we've seen in healthcare, I think, are very unique and disruptive. Thinking about 100 years ago, the common cold was a death sentence. 20 years ago, HIV was a death sentence. Now there's been new innovations in healthcare and therapeutics, as well as the convergence of technology in healthcare that has made the ability for patients to live longer, healthier, happier lives the new normal. And then within that, some key trends that I've seen that I think are help driving healthcare and life sciences forward in the UK and in the US. I'd say three key trends. One is value-based care, and that is a new focus within the United States, and I think it's a focus here as well, maybe in an earlier stage. But that is instead of a patient going through a battery of different tests and just a fee-for-service model where they're getting test after test after test and not necessarily getting to the right answer. It's a refocusing of care on the outcomes, on the caregiver focusing on how to make that patient healthier without perhaps a litany of unnecessary tests. I think that's one trend, and we've seen some really exciting companies get built and sold in the United States, either sold in the public markets or sold in the private markets, or both. One of our old clients was a company called Oak Street Health. They quickly ramped their value-based care model to $1 billion in revenues, and then were acquired by CVS for $10 million last year. There's been a number of IPOs. There's some really exciting private companies too that are building these value-based care models to focus in on providing a solution that focuses on the outcomes of patients. The second trend I think is really exciting is, within the world of biotech, I've met with a number of VCs and CEOs over the past year, and many are calling the innovation that we're seeing in obesity the electric car moment for the biotech industry. And I think this is a really exciting, powerful statement to make. And I've seen firsthand on the company creation side with new drugs and modalities to fight obesity. And then I've also seen it on the late stage side. There's two companies that are leading the world in obesity, and one is a European company, Novo. And it seems to have a cascading effect or multiplier effect. And what I mean by that is that Novo also, a Danish company, announced that their obesity drug also has startling cardiovascular data, that they were able to reduce serious adverse events in cardiovascular incidences in patients up to 20%. And to me, that I think is very exciting, because not only are you helping patients get healthier and live longer, but also you're attacking one of the key morbidities in the United States and in the UK, cardiovascular incidences. So I think that is a really exciting watershed moment that we're seeing in the biotech industry. Lastly, I think a trend that is very prevalent here is virtual care. So in patients, instead of trying to find their primary care office, trying to go into the hospital, whether it be something acute or chronic, the ability to get care quickly and conveniently and accurately on their mobile device. One interesting statistic is, currently in the world, there's 8 billion people and there's 15 billion cell phones. I think that's a pretty powerful metric when you think about the ability to bring care to patients through their mobile device. So those are three trends here that I think are pretty interesting.
Wow, that's, I mean, all those are massive problems, and like having the technology, solve all those issues yeah, as you said, it's amazingly exciting. I think the challenge that maybe arises from this, that some people would say, is that given how fast the space is actually moving, and you were mentioning like three examples there, moving at incredibly fast speeds, and I guess in some aspects it's actually exponential. How can regulators actually keep up with this?
I think that's a great question, and it's not an easy one to answer. And I would also plead some being a bit naive on the topic, having recently relocated from the U.S. and trying to understand the UK healthcare market. And forgive me if some of my answers aren't fully informed, but I'm just giving you my reactions to speaking to our Innovation Bank clients and speaking to investors. And attending Tech Week and some of the other amazing events that are happening in the UK sector, innovation sector. The way that I think about it is you start with the problem and then you reverse engineer to solutions. And I think the government is a key partner in that, especially in the UK, when the NHS is the primary payer in the system. I think that I read somewhere that they control 80 to 90% of all reimbursement in the UK system, 67, 70 million lives. That's significant. So when you think about the challenges that I've been reading is that, and hearing about from clients, is that the NHS used to be, in the UK system, used to be the darling of the world with universal healthcare and healthcare for all. And convenient, accessible, low cost, and highly efficacious. But with any great story, sometimes it comes with growing pains. And one of the key problems that is happening, I believe, in the UK is that they've seen a shortage of caregivers, of staff members, of doctors and nurses and administrators. At the same time, with that shortage, they're seeing a surge in patient activity, not only the number of patients, but also in the aging population, as we see in a lot of industrialized countries around the world, that there's a larger and larger barbell in the population, where you have 65 and older seniors seeking more regular care for their acute conditions and their chronic conditions. So one stat that I recently read about the NHS and the UK system is that if you were looking to get a procedure, something as fundamental and elective as a knee replacement, the average wait time is 18 weeks. In the U.S., it's we have our problems, but it generally the speed to care is much quicker. So I think when you think about the opportunity for innovators and founders and technology and healthcare professionals in the UK, you think about how do they reverse engineer the problem of getting fast and efficient healthcare in the UK for the 67 million patients. And I think, like I said, the regulators are a key part of that calculus. In a few different ideas come to mind. One is that the allowing of more of the private insurance companies into the system. Some of the companies that are in the system today that are recent entries. There's a company called Aviva. There's a company called Bupa. The Cleveland Clinic has started to expand its insurance operations in the UK. So I'm not saying that should necessarily take over all of the goodness and I think the benefits of the NHS system, but perhaps allowing some additional competition into the system could create that creative tension with the NHS and the private payers. And maybe it's today it's the 80-20, 80% is NHS, 20% is private pay. Maybe it gets to 60-40 or something a little bit more balanced, and that could drive more innovation and create the motivation for regulators to allow more innovative products into the system and keep patients out of hospitals and allow them to, like our earlier comments, to get care quickly and efficiently on their mobile device. So that comes to mind of what regulators could do.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And you drew a lot of comparisons and differences between the US and the UK system. And you mentioned things like aging populations, and this is kind of the same in all developed nations. However, the systems from the US and the UK are very different, right? Like you have the private system within the US, very, very privatized, and the UK, where you mentioned the NHS. I guess, given that you bring a global perspective, what are the key differences you've actually seen between the US and the UK market? I know you've already drawn on a few.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy to share, and I think it's fascinating to compare them, and I think there's lesson learned on in both environments. I think, like I mentioned, the interesting difference to me is the dominant market share of the NHS in the insurance and the reimbursement environment compared to the U.S. It's about 60-40. With the majority being private and 40 being public. Albeit you do have larger populations. The U.S. is about 331 million, and like I said, the U.K. is about 67 million. But it is interesting that you do have that significant difference in the balance of private pay and public pay. The other, I think, interesting nuance that I'm sure a lot of people have felt here is that the access to pharmaceuticals here is highly regulated and highly scrutinized by caregivers. And I think that has a really positive side to it. And it also maybe in some cases there are some downsides to that. And then conversely, I feel like the U.S. has a wildly successful pharmaceutical industry and biotech industry, but I do feel the drug industry is too lightly regulated, and that the access to pharmaceuticals, whether that be for pain, like the opioid problem, where the last stat I saw that 200 Americans die a day of the opioid addiction, depression. I feel like the quick fix is for patients to go to their primary care, the neurologist, and get different types of drugs like SSRIs that have now, there's been new data coming out that the long-term effects could be a net negative on patient care. And then, a variety of other areas, but I feel like, and sleep. A lot of Americans feel like just take a pill to solve your sleep problems. And I feel like there's so many better things you can do first, like exercise and diet and stress management, before you quickly jump into popping pills. So I think that's a big difference, and important to highlight that the UK system could be a little bit stronger and better with their discipline around medicating the population. Maybe another big difference that we talk to our clients about frequently at the Innovation Bank is just the access to the public markets. In the U.S., if you're a growing health tech or biotech, ultimately you want to build a business, a foundational business that you could take to the public markets, whether that be the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, and sell it to public shareholders and grow the valuation, provide enough capital to turbocharge your clinical programs or your commercial plan, be able to expand internationally. And I feel like in the UK and in Europe, the stock markets are just they're not quite as accessible. They don't have the institutional support of Wall Street, of Connecticut, where the hedge funds are largely based, and the venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. I feel like if we had a little bit more emphasis on creating a public company environment on the London Stock Exchange, albeit they've done that with the aim, but I feel like it could be better if we were to perhaps invest in it more, perhaps get more government regulation to streamline the process to go public, do what we can to provide an environment where UK founders and entrepreneurs and executives didn't feel the need to take their companies public on the NASDAQ and the NYSE as their first choice. I think that's a big one. Let's see. Those I think those are the key trends that are probably the most relevant to talk about.
Yeah. So you talked about the differences between US and UK, and then you talked about how we can maybe take benefits from the two and maybe create a more inclusive and better system. Because they've all got their own individual problems, but the healthcare, the quality needs to be higher in both, I would say. And then I guess you talked about technologies and innovations at the beginning. And I guess if you were to pinpoint one single technology that makes you the most excited, that you think would have the largest impact on healthcare within the next 5 years, regardless of country, what would it be? Sina, I would hedge my bets, and I would say the convergence or the confluence of three key areas coming together could be what I think is the most exciting to get to that area that we feel like patients are getting the care that they need,
not only on an acute or chronic, but also on a preventative basis, is that first leg of the stool, the three-legged stool, would be value-based care, a significant emphasis on the outcome, not on just test after test after test. I think that is a key fundamental shift. Add together that with the wearable technology that we're seeing. So not only your mobile device, but also wearable devices like the Oura Ring, a Finnish company that's been wildly successful, challenging the Apple for all of its wearable products. I'm actually wearing an Oura Ring right now to track my sleep and other vital signs that I love seeing that data on a daily basis. And the third, where at the Innovation Bank, we're seeing a significant amount of Series A and Series B activity is in AI. Artificial intelligence, I think all of us believe is, what Sam Altman and Mark Andreessen are doing in Silicon Valley with OpenAI and the Google technology. And it's just tremendous. ChatGPT, there's another one called Claude. I think the convergence of those three areas, value-based care, wearables, and AI, I think could be a profound tectonic shift, bringing care to patients in their home, whether they're maybe in an agricultural society working in a field, or in a variety of different capacities, and not feeling like we have this situation where we need to make an appointment with a primary care, wait 18 weeks for it, and perhaps the symptoms have evolved to a point that you have a completely different problem. So those are the three areas that I think about. If they could converge and we could help support them at the Innovation Bank at HSBC, that could be really an exciting shift in healthcare for patients.
That sounds really interesting. And Michael, I'll be honest, we haven't gone through any of these episodes without mentioning AI. It's so overarching.
Oh, yeah.
It can help so many different industries. But it's good to hear its application actually helping real people and, improving healthcare. Because that's a big segment that AI can definitely help with. Now, the next question that I want to close the episode with is that I know a lot of people listening to you, and you've got the HSBC background there in your video. I guess, what role banking partners and corporate partners play within life sciences, because it may be fairly confusing for some people. It's like, where do HSBC and other banks and other corporate partners fit into all of this? Yeah.
I think that's a great question. And that's one that we talk with our clients about frequently when we are sitting down with CEOs and investors of healthcare or technology companies or health tech companies. What can we do to be their partner, to help them today, to think about their challenges of the future, and try to be that partner to them from seed to IPO and beyond. I think, the partnership between the Innovation Bank and HSBC is a relatively new partnership, but we're really excited about all that it can bring to our clients. We feel like it has accelerated a lot of our product platform offering by 5 to 10 years because of the tremendous platform of HSBC. So I'd say there's 3 to 4 things when I think about what we can do as a banking partner to CEOs and VCs and entrepreneurs that are looking to raise that first round. I'd say the first one is we can talk to them about their capital strategy. We could talk to them about whether that be how are they going to raise that first seed round or Series A round, whether they be contemplating growth capital. Like from a bank, we provide large growth capital facilities to clients alongside of their equity or perhaps pre-IPO. We also have a full service investment bank that can help our clients with the getting in early and talking to them about who are the key institutional investors you need to meet on Canary Row, High Street, and in Wall Street, and like I said, Connecticut and Silicon Valley. I think we can help them strategize on building an IPO ready company. So I would say the first bullet point would be capital. The second, I think it's kind of obvious, but HSBC is a global powerhouse, $1 trillion bank with presence in 62 different countries. I think it's a powerful partnership that we have with HSBC, and so we can bring the reach and the capabilities and infrastructure of the HSBC powerhouse to our clients at the Innovation Bank. So I think that's the second. The third is something we've been doing for a long time, and HSBC is helping us just augment it, is the ability to provide data to our clients so they can make informed decisions. It's really common that I'll be talking to a biotech or a health tech CEO or investor, and they'll be talking about raising that next round, whether it be a Series A, B, C, or D. And I could share with them some of the data that we have. We put together data every quarter, which illustrates who are the leading institutional funds that are investing into the specific subsectors of healthcare and life sciences. We also have data at the investment banking level. We have research coverage that we provide to clients. And I think that is also a powerful complement to the data that we've been providing to our clients at the Innovation Bank. So I'd say data to help our clients make those informed decisions on that next capital raise or that next strategic decision they're going to make. And the fourth, I would say, is sort of referencing back to some of our earlier comments we were making about the government regulation and supporting the industry. We've been able to lobby on behalf of our clients. Our CEO, Aaron Platts, has been, a very active champion for our clients with the current administration. And I think that is a powerful relationship that we can continue to help enhance, and bringing our clients and putting them in front of some of the key administrators and government officials, and really helping, I think, demystify healthcare and technology and innovation, and helping illustrate the problems that the innovation economy is solving for patients and for the UK population in Europe. So those four things I would summarize, I think, are the most relevant value propositions that we can bring to our clients.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure many people listening have also. And I guess the key thing here is that there's so much innovation happening within the space that it's very exciting. And I guess drawing comparisons between the US and the UK market as well, very interesting, because I think there definitely needs to be innovation within the whole space. And I think bringing up AI and the different tools that are being used right now today. And then you have obviously partners such as HSBC doing some amazing things, and to make that actually possible and bring that into fruition. Overall, very exciting stuff for the next few years. So Michael, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure, Sina.